everybody! Welcome to Hangoutlander, episode 205. Tonight we're discussing the recent episode, Untimely Resurrection. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Okay, good, because I can't read the title on the screen. I'm Becca. I'm one of the co-owners of That's Normal, and we are missing, yet again, our other co-owner and partner in crime, Nikki, because tonight is Nikki's birthday. Actually, it was her birthday all day. But she, at the moment, I think, is at Disneyland getting her silhouette drawn. Last text message we got. And so she is not here, sadly, but we miss her and hope that she'll be with us again next week. And we have some very special guests we'll get to in a second, but just as a reminder, tweet along with us using the hashtag Hangoutlander. And if you make us laugh or cry or some sort of emotion that we feel excited about, you could be the winner of one of these fine Outlander flasks. This is the last flask that has been in my Philadelphia home. I hope to never have one again because I've had about 1 million of these that we've given away. So this one is very special. I will kiss it and send it on your way. So please make sure you interact with us tonight. Oh, I am drinking something French. It's French, so obviously that was totally intentional. Not at all. I want to introduce our special guests this evening. We have Mary and Blake from Outlander cast. We are so excited that they're here, so I want to send it off to Mary to introduce herself and tell us a little bit about you guys.
Hi, so I'm Mary. Blake and I live in Providence, Rhode Island. We're married, and in the midst of being bored parents, we decided to start podcasting. And we absolutely love Outlander. Well, I read the books. Blake is completely new to Outlander and is just a show watcher. So we have a lot of fun watching this show, and I have to quite frequently bite my tongue or like look off in the distance when he comes up with different theories. So that's us in a nutshell. I'm drinking some kind of rosé since it's spring, and that's what you drink in the spring.
French,
is rosé.
probably.
Yes.
That's exciting. We love having non-book readers here because it prevents us from like being spoilery, which we're going to be like. Last week I was like, we almost spoiled it for anybody who watches us and doesn't read the books. And so it's always great, and they always intend to be men. So I'm so glad you're here, Blake. So introduce yourself and tell us about you guys.
Thank you. My name is Blake, and as Mary has said so aptly, we are married, and thank God we are. I married up and totally outkicked my coverage with her. She's amazing. She is a book reader. I am not, as she has said. And I'm very proud of that. I got an Outlander because specifically my wife was reading it, but I love Ron Moore. I'm a huge Battlestar Galactica fan, and I figured anything that Ron Moore does is something that I will get on board with. I was a fan of his dating all the way back to his days in Star Trek TNG, so I'm a total Ron Moore nerd.
Cool.
So as our podcasting career goes, I just enjoy talking about Outlander. I really enjoyed the first season. The second season so far has been good until this episode. This episode was absolutely phenomenal in my opinion. So I was quite pleased by it. So that's it. Yeah, our podcast is called Outlander Cast.
Cool. When do you guys put your episodes up? Do you do recap episodes?
Yeah, I don't like to use the term recap. I'm going to get super nerdy on you because of that, because we just don't recap. We discuss, and we don't go scene by scene. We have a good conversation about it, and we include all the listeners, and we do 2 episodes per week.
Okay.
The first episode is it's usually out by Sunday night or Monday morning, and then our listener feedback episode, because we have so many people that just love to interact with us, we have the second episode just dedicated to listeners. That usually comes out, I'd say, on Wednesday night or Thursday morning.
Cool. Awesome. Well, we will make sure to include any links to your podcast for our readers and watchers that aren't familiar with you. Yeah. And what are you drinking tonight, Blake?
I am drinking Midas Touch. It's a beer, and it's right there. Midas Touch.
Nice. Great. We're so glad you guys are here. Jules.
Hi, I'm Julie. If you were wondering why I disappeared for a second, I literally ran around my room. I was so excited that Outlander cast was joining us that I just took off running and I did circles around. Actually, I did, but I also was my computer was about to die, and smart one like that I am, the cord was in the other room. So hi, I'm Julie. I write for That's Normal, and I'm drinking Pinot Noir. I'm also catching my breath because I need to run some more because I'm a little out of shape because that was my exercise for today. So thank you. And yes, that's me. Hi.
And Beth.
Hi, everybody. I'm Beth, and I am responsible for bringing Outlander to That's Normal, so you're all welcome.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry,
the
not
reason
sorry.
why we don't have Monday nights anymore.
I know. We're sitting around going on Monday nights. We're like, oh, damn it. Outlander again. We got to get drunk. We got to put makeup on. It's a big production, but we love it. I'm having whiskey tonight. Look at it. Look how pretty it is.
Like, speaking of getting drunk,
But
serious.
I'm going to get drunk.
Yeah.
But because I'm from Memphis, this is Jack Daniels.
Gross.
Guys, I know 2 different guys named Jack Daniel.
No.
Yes, I do. That's their real name.
Terrible.
And one of them's
Terrible.
name is Jack Daniel Daniels. You can find him on Facebook. He's real cute.
Oh my gosh. Oh, all right. Well, let us jump into the episode. I think we're going to bring back an old favorite that we didn't do last week, and we had some people that were very disappointed on Twitter. And that
Sorry,
would be the one-sentence summary. So quickly, since this is Blake and Mary's first time, we're just going to talk about what we thought of this episode in one quick sentence. Good, bad, ugly, indifferent. Who would like to go first?
I'll go first. I can wrap up the episode in 3 words. Black Jack Randall. The man stole the episode, and it was electric. That's it. That's all I got.
He always does.
Yeah, we are big Tobias fans around here.
My sentence is, this is the episode that proves once again that Claire and I would not be friends in real life.
I assume we'll expand on that.
Yes, but basically all of her decisions are the opposite of the decisions that I would make if I were in her shoes. And this episode is one of those episodes that proves it. Anyway, continue. Somebody else?
My sentence is something like, it's not really worked out. So my unworked out sentence is like, man walks into field on grassy knoll at Versailles and all hell almost breaks loose. Like, that's my sentence. Because that's all I can remember is like him walking in. And I should have known it because I think they tweeted about it, right? But I wasn't prepared. I wasn't paying attention. I forget where we are in the books. And here he is, and I'm like, oh, that.
Yeah.
That's what I remember.
My sentence would have to be that Richard needs to write more because I loved his writing. I loved this episode, and I'm a huge fan of Richard Cahan. I think he's just amazing, and I would love for him to write more. I'm sad that the episodes are already written and recorded. But who knows? If season 3 comes, Richard needs to write more.
It felt different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Something about it did feel really different.
Yeah. Mine would be angry Jamie makes me feel things. I really liked angry Jamie. Sam needs to be angry, he needs to be angry, in every single episode, I think, from this point forward. Just be angry, Sam. I don't even care if it's like someone's like, hello, how are you? I just...
I think that I'm sure we're going to get into it, and I'm totally jumping ahead, but we've talked last week about how, now this is some book things, but like book Jamie is like our book husband. Like he is the quintessential man. He's not a book boyfriend. He's your husband. He's like this powerful man that you want every man in every book and every story to be. And we haven't seen that so far this season. We were really disappointed in how he's been, and I feel like him at the brothel, was it right before, it was or just even the conversation he had with Charlie at the winery, like something about it was just like, there's Jamie. There's the Jamie that I read about.
It definitely wasn't the brothel scene where you were seeing Jamie.
Maybe it was before that. What happened before?
Let's talk about Jamie for a little while because for me, there was two distinct Jamies in this one. There were a couple of times where he was fully himself, like fully the Jamie that I expect him to be, and then like there's the brothel scene where he's just not seemed like such a beta, like in that scene. He was letting the comp like totally school him, and I kept wondering why. I kept wondering why he looked so taken aback instead of kind of why he wasn't giving like the comp some of his own medicine in that scene. What did you guys think?
I always felt that he tried to give him a little bit of medicine, saying, you know, the guy, if I find out who you know, attacked my wife or poisoned her, he's gonna die a slow and long, painful death. The problem is that that's great to say, but I mean, he did get schooled because the comp literally does not care about anything that happens to Jamie or his wife or whatever, and that's just the kind of guy that he is. And why should the comp care? Because he's a businessman, he's making tons of money, he's the man. What do I care about Jamie? He's just a middling little dude that just came in and took over this wine business.
Yeah. Do you think that the comp did it? Like, do you think that he's doing all of these things to Claire? Do you think that they're just...
Well, I think they alluded to the fact that he poisoned Claire. They alluded to that pretty well because, you know, it was the way they shot it, it was quite obvious. I mean, at least that's the way they're editing it, and they intend to show it to you, that as she's taking a sip of the drink, he's in the background, blurred out, so that he's just haunting over her shoulder a little bit, and then they keep cutting back and forth between the two. The only thing I don't think he had any hand in is the attack on Claire. I don't think he had a hand in that because, number one, based on the evidence that was put forth, he wasn't at the brothel at the time that apparently Jamie had mentioned the word La Dame Blanche. And also, I don't feel like he's that kind of guy where he would try to have either Claire killed or raped. But a little bit of poison, make her feel like crap, I could see that happening.
Yeah, more like a cat and mouse.
We have a tweet here that says from one of our writers, Danelle, saying that Book Jamie didn't appear for her until the argument at the end with Claire. Which I agree, that was totally Book Jamie, but there was something, and you're right, it wasn't the brothel scene. I think it may have been the scene with Charlie, just his or who was he talking to? Well, that was not until after. There was
I think you're thinking
before.
of the scene with Blackjack, like that scene when he's with the king.
Are you thinking about with Murtaugh?
Maybe.
When he's talking to Murtaugh and tells him, like, get over it, man. It's okay, like...
Yeah.
Oh, yes. The scene in the wine when he's talking to Murtaugh.
Yeah, it was in the wine. Something in the wine, right?
Okay.
And Murtaugh's like, I feel bad about what I did. And Jamie's like, you know, okay. You know, lay vengeance at my feet or whatever. And he's like, he gives him that nod. And that nod is super, like, honorable, layered Jamie.
Well, I think there was even when Charlie came into the winery or whatever, it's not a winery, whatever it is, the shop, and they were talking about, he was telling what he was going to do and how it was going to work, and like Jamie's like, okay, yeah, and like became this really businessy person, and I was remembering like in the books he's 23 or however he is, 24 or 25 by now, and here he is like, but he was always so much older than that, and like we're seeing that. I don't think they're playing Jamie as young in the TV show as the books, but we're seeing this like business acumen, this smart guy. He's super intelligent, I think, in a way that,
I really liked, for me, the two, and I'm kind of stealing from Claudia here on Twitter. It's the bookend scene she talked about, and I thought that was a really good juxtaposition. You have the very sweet, I mean, after he returns from the jail and he's like, I stink, and you're like, ew. But he's like, holds Claire, and he's like, you know, I want to lay with you in my arms, and you're like, oh, go have sex, and then they cut away. You're like, no, damn it, you know, like, just a little bit. And then
just a little bit of sex.
I just need a little, just the tip.
Just the tip.
Stole the words right out from my mouth.
And then obviously, the last scene, the angry. Yeah. Once again, angry Jamie makes me feel things, good things.
No, Sam was really, really great in the last scene. That was a fantastic scene for him.
I just didn't like his hair. It was a little too frizzy for me. Maybe I can just commiserate because I have chronic frizzy hair.
My cheeks are already getting hot. I've had like 3 sips of it.
Oh no.
It's going to be a good night, you guys. Oh, heavens to Betsy. But I want to talk about Katrina for a minute, or not Katrina, but Claire specifically, because for all of the times that this booked Jamie and it kind of was a good episode for him, there were a lot of fails for Claire for me in this episode, and I might be alone in that. But my biggest fail with Claire is the scene with Anelise, which I guess doesn't appear in the book, so that might be why it's such a fail for me. But if a woman is talking like that about your man to your face, come back with something. Throw some shade her way. She is like a little lost lamb being schooled by this French young woman, and I thought, that's not the Claire that I know. Claire would have some bite back into that conversation, and I was really, really disappointed in her. In fact, I think, Julie, you're the one who tweeted that night. We were live tweeting, and you said, Claire should just say, yeah, but when you knew him, he was a virgin.
Yeah. And that, because she kept on saying that changed, like he's changed. He used to be so sure, but now he's changed. And I would have been like walking with her, and yeah, when you knew him, he was a virgin, and that's changed. And then just kept on walking away.
Yeah.
Yeah, for her to say, you know, he was a boy and now he's a man, she could have totally been like, yeah, he is a man, you know, exactly.
And I'm responsible.
She just seemed so lost. I was like, how have you not come up with any comeback to this hoe yet? Like, where's your spirit? Like, where is your badassery in this moment? I can't believe she was so flummoxed by her. It was annoying.
No, and for me, too, this is a woman who bitch slapped Leary, like, for putting a thistle under her, like, her pillow or something like that, or, like, I don't know, a thorn in her ass. I don't know. But she bitch slapped her. She did. She bitch slapped her. Let's call it what it is. And here she is walking, and this woman is flat out saying, you've changed him for the worse. I would have bitch slapped her right there. I've been like, take off the gloves and slapped her like a duel. I think that's so funny. I don't know why.
I don't know if I would have slapped her.
It's the wine talking.
Something.
But she should have said something. She should have done something. Claire would have done something. Just didn't feel like her.
Yeah.
I feel like Claire would have just, like, real Claire would have just said, no, I don't want to go for a walk with you. I'm eating. I'm pregnant. I'm hungry. Like, I need to feed myself and this baby.
Right. There was no need for them to be having that conversation
we're
in
not
the first
friends.
place.
Yeah. Exactly.
Where's the buffet? Take me there now.
Exactly. You know it's there somewhere in that house. Beth, what else was missteps for her? Because you seem to have big problems with her this episode.
Well, I mean, other than the obvious one, which is the entire conceit that she's doing this thing for Frank, which has always, even in reading the books, you're just like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, how is that your focus that you need to, save? And the whole idea that the changing the future, anyway, that whole thing is bananas, and it drives me crazy. But even just leaving for the Bastille felt odd to me. I was like, how is, I don't know. I'm trying to think of the other one that really bugged me with her in this scene, and I can't remember what it was at the moment, because I had too much. It was
too much. Well, talking about that, her like obsession with this Frank thing, she said, what was so frustrating for me is she said something along the lines of like, as far as we know, his lineage is not the word she used. His lineage is determined by Mary Hawkins and Jack Randall, something about blackjack. Like, as far as we know, and I wanted to be like, you just used a word that made it seem like it's probable, because you read it in a book, but it's possible it's not true. So is it possible that he could still be born with another Randall? Like, how is she not, like, or somebody else completely? Like, how is she so obsessed with this idea?
I remember what it was.
Oh.
It was when she had, you made me remember it. When she had that letter from Mary, and she's like, should I throw it away? Should I get rid of it? Do I hold Frank's, lineage? How does it not ever occur to her that Mary Hawkins marrying Blackjack Randall is a reaction to Mary knowing Alex?
Right.
And how does that not occur to her?
Right. Let her love him, yeah.
How else are they going to meet? Like, why is this something she's even contemplating at that point, changing the future so that Mary can be with Jack by destroying Alex? It doesn't make any sense. Like, it just didn't, she's not thinking clearly, and I don't like that kind of Claire. I don't like it when Claire, and granted, she does it a lot, but it bugs me when she does that.
And not to mention, she's trying to set up little precious, how old is she, like 16-year-old Mary Hawkins with Blackjack Randall, like
Yeah.
the worst match made ever. Like this is the cruelest man that Claire has ever met, and Claire, who's supposed to be compassionate to this poor woman who was just raped. You know what will make you better? I'm gonna set you up and make sure that you need to be with Blackjack Randall, because that sounds fantastic.
Oh, what a good point.
And Beth, you're right. Like, she won't change the future there. Like, what's Sam? What Jamie said at the end, right? But we're changing the future. So you now have a problem with this change of the future, but it just doesn't. It doesn't follow.
One of the things that what Mary and I talked about on our podcast this evening was, and I think what we're all tiptoeing around here a little bit, is what gives Claire the moral and logical authority to change history the way that she intends to change history. And when it benefits her, great. If it doesn't benefit her, not great. It's a morally gray and morally ambiguous area that she is taking advantage of. And what gives her the authority to get rid of the relationship between Alex and Mary? There is no moral right, no moral obligation to do so. And because of that moral gray area, she's getting into an area where it's almost a tad unlikable for that philosophical reason alone.
Well,
It's a lot unlikable. It's one of the biggest problems that you have, and it's more pronounced for me in this show than it is when you read the books, because they're constantly talking about changing the future, which is not the case when you're reading. It's not really like the focus, but it's more pronounced that she doesn't even know how things are going to change or if she can affect the future, and yet she's still cherry picking what needs to happen and what doesn't need to happen, and it's super unlikable. It's not just it's not just a little bit. It changes kind of the whole scope of who she is sometimes. You just kind of want to strangle her.
Yeah, well, it shows that she's kind of maniacal. For me, that was very maniacal, that she would first take the letter, think about burning it, and then essentially tell the brother, Alex, stay away. You need to stay away. You need to get away from her. She's damaged now. You're only going to hurt her. And then it's just this notion of, this just seems very out of character for her. So.
And then you also have to define the aspect of how do you think history works in this particular universe. Has it happened the way that it always happened? Has Claire always gone back to the 1740s? And as a result of her going back to the 1740s, does that make Mary not be with Alex, and as a result be with Blackjack Randall too? Or do you think Claire is changing history as she goes, and that another universe or a separate A, B forks, and then it creates that kind of thing? So my feeling is that it's always been, what's happened has always happened, and by Claire being in the world at that time, that has created the world that we're in today.
Right.
What do you guys think about that? I mean, I'm sure you're book readers, so you probably know already. So
I don't, because I haven't read all the books.
Well, I
think
think
bananas. It doesn't make any sense in the books either. I mean, it's glaring inconsistencies sometimes in the books, I think. And so the show is kind of like highlighting some of the things that when you're reading the book, you're like, what? How's that going to work later on? It highlights it because it's condensed.
not to mention the whole just butterfly effect. It would be great if Culloden never happened, right? A lot of people died. The whole of Scotland was changed forever. But I don't know what would have happened as a result if the Scottish king was then on the throne. What would have happened to all the?
what would have happened to all the Protestants?
Right, exactly. Maybe we would be under Scottish rule in America right now. We would have never. Wait, what year was this? 17. Was this before?
75.
Okay, yeah, so this hasn't. Yeah, okay, I'm trying to get my history right. Right.
Good job.
Who knows? Maybe they would have been a great king, and we would have loved him, and we would be Scottish today. I mean,
That'd be awesome.
that would be awesome. Damn it.
Somebody asked, I can't find it now, but somebody wanted to know, what do we think Annalise's end game is?
Yeah, good question.
Do you think she's going to show up again? I mean, they've obviously put her in is she just a plot device right now just to irritate Claire? Or do you think there's an end game for Annalise later on in the series?
I hope she comes back one more time so Claire does get to give her a piece of her mind. That's the only, I think that Anelise, her point was to get her so that she got to see Blackjack Randall, but part of me wants to be like, Claire, put on your big girl boots and slap this girl. Not really slap her, just do it with some great words.
Yeah,
I would say slapper.
The verbal slappitude that Claire is capable of needs to happen, at the very least. I don't know. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
No. I wasn't going to say anything about Anelise because I got bored of her.
She's kind of boring.
She
It's
is. I
kind
mean,
of boring.
and there has to be a reason. Like, she can't have just been in there for one scene to say, I used to date him, blah, 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 and slobber on his face, and then this last thing. They could have, there has to be a reason. Otherwise, it's just random, right?
Well, my thought was that the only reason they're even putting her in there and the only reason they're showing it and they're talking about how impetuous Jamie used to be is because Jamie is trying to fight a duel against Blackjack. And I'm trying not to be spoilery. But they're trying to draw a parallel maybe between Jamie trying to get this duel going and having fought a duel for Anelise back when he was, 18 or whatever, and fighting in France, which was like a thing that he did, and maybe that eventually Anelise is going to have some sort of agency in making this duel happen, or at the very least making sense of that duel to someone else later on in the show. That's the only reason I can really think that they're even still utilizing her in that way, trying to draw parallels between old Jamie and Jamie now and the duels. And otherwise, I don't really understand, other than just to irritate Claire. I don't know.
Shelly Raffle on Twitter says, Annalise is an ill-used plot device, no point at all. She won our prize last week. Hope you're enjoying that, companion.
She is enjoying it. She told us she was.
I know, I saw that. I was just saying something.
And I like the hashtag Anna sent, which is hashtag Ron knows best. Only Ron knows what's going on.
Like you said, you were a Ron fan. Do you think Ron is fully aware of what's going on with Annalise, and it's useful, or does he let things dangle in some of his other shows, and this might be a dangling plot?
Well, I would say that for the most part, Ron Moore is an elite showrunner, and he knows exactly what to do. I think in Battlestar Galactica, that show was full of 21, 22 episode seasons, so there had to be some filler. But I think for the most part on Outlander, he knows exactly what he's doing. So I got an idea that he has a plan for Anelise.
Corinne,
I think she's gonna dangle like one of the king's poops. That's what I think.
What?
She's gonna dangle like a piece of poop. Like
no,
poop.
you said
I thought that's what you said, and I was.
You said the king's poop.
Yeah, a king's poop. Okay, I missed that. I thought you said cave poop, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Can we move to? We've talked before about how the narration, Claire's narration, has bothered us. Obviously, the book is from Claire's perspective, and so that's why they're utilizing that, because most everything we've ever seen is coming from her perspective. The narration has bothered me at some points, but not as heavily as I think it has some of our other viewers or readers, or you guys even. It was obvious this episode. Like, it was so much, and that's what a lot of the people are tweeting, saying right now. Like, can we talk about the narration? The narration, what was up with that narration? Were you guys bothered at all by the narration?
Yeah, I sent a tweet about it saying, I just think, because she sits there, literally, she sat there, I think I timed it, it was like a good 30 seconds, she sat there in the same scene and was like this. With the narration, I'm thinking, someone's got to be walking by her going, what the hell is she doing? And then this narration kept going, and you're just like, and then her eyes crinkle at one point, but I'm like, dude, I think people think she's crazy. The English woman's a bunch of nuts. That's what she is. Aww.
I'm not a fan of the narration, but I know that there are people out there who have watched the show and think that they wouldn't understand what's going on without it. So there's that problem, but for me that's just a problem that you got to overcome without hokey narration. Overcome it somehow.
I was thinking about Sense8, the show we did a hangout for Sense8 when it was on. Have you guys watched that, Blake and Mary?
I've only seen the first episode.
Okay, well, you need to watch the rest because it's amazing, and it's coming back, I think, in December. But I was so confused. Maybe that's why I didn't finish watching the first episode. By the end, I was hooked. But that whole first episode, I wanted to die. I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know why my friends were talking about the show because it seemed terrible and very confusing, and I felt like I was dumb and couldn't understand it. And so I stuck through, and then by the end, I was like, this is good, and then it makes sense. But it is confusing, and there is things that just you don't understand, and I think that happens with a lot of shows, and I'm really glad that they didn't have a narrator telling me what to think throughout that show.
One piece that I did like that was narrated was, I go back and forth, was when she was by the fire holding the letter. She had just left Mary Hawkins, and she's out loud saying, oh, if I burn this, maybe Frank will be, able to be born. Like, no kidding, Claire. But the thing that I was saying to Blake earlier was, we don't get to see Claire. I mean, we don't get to see Frank. Yes, we got to see him in the first episode, but Frank is ever present on Claire's mind. He was a love of her life before she met Jamie. I shouldn't say love of her life, but he was a love in her life. He was her husband. She cared for him deeply. She knows all of this history because of him. He was the one that sat down and said all this. So I feel bad because, you know how you have like exes and stuff, and you're driving, you're going about your day, and you're like, oh yeah, that ex liked that ice cream shop or whatever. We don't get to have that with Claire. So by having this particular voiceover, we were reminded that she thinks of Claire. I mean, she thinks of Frank so many times throughout the day, throughout the weeks, whatever it may be. I did tell Blake that if I wanted to see that scene done differently, if she had held the letter and then began to play with her ring that Frank had given her, to show the both rings and to be holding that and to be playing with it, we would have gotten the same thing. But yeah. I just to be able to say, all right, Frank is on her mind, and it's not a bad thing. Yeah. He was a love of her life.
Yeah, and I think you're right. Like, there's moments where they can take the narration away and give us something else that it totally tells us the same story, but just gives it to us in a more concise way without this kind of like beating your head over it with it. And it just would be so much better to watch. What if Jamie had come in while she's sitting there, working through this thing with Frank and holding her ring? You know what I mean? Like, how would that play out on her face, and how would that play out in the conversation that they have? And just give us something else besides just babying us through Claire's thoughts.
I would agree with you. I don't like my hand to be held in any show that I'm watching. Like Mr. Robot, your hand is never held. The Leftovers, that your hand is never held. Even Battlestar Galactica, it's not held all that much. But I've come to the realization back in season 1, I'd say episode 3 or 4, where I was just gonna, if they're gonna use this narration device, and it's clear that they're going to use it, I'm gonna buy in. I'm buying it, and I'll take it. I'll go with it, as long as it makes sense within the context of the story. Meaning this, was it the second episode, or first episode, second episode, when Claire is saying, Jared has all of these servants for us, and he hired them, he trusts them, therefore I trust them, and I can talk about stuff around them. You, as the viewer, would not be able to know that unless you were told that way, unless you were told physically by Claire speaking to Jamie, or vice versa. So, and that would have been clunky to begin with. So the narration probably works in that case. Where it doesn't work, again, like you guys have said, is in front of that fireplace. I want that scene to stand on its own. I want the character to stand on her own. The reactions that she's having as she's walking and she looks confused, the fire is burning in front of her, like the fire that she's dealing with inside of her, that is what matters most. And you see her struggling with her eyes as she's looking at that letter. You already know what the letter is about. You can infer what she is thinking, and that's where the narration falls apart for me a little bit. But for the most part, I'm buying in. I'll take the narration. If they're going to use it, let's use it and let's own it.
There's a tweet that we have, and I'm wondering if it's an ex-girlfriend of yours, Blake, because I'm very confused. It says, it's from Laura Robertson, who tweets us all the time. I literally cannot hear a second of Claire's voiceovers without thinking of Blake. I don't know what that means.
Well, on my podcast, oh God.
Do you do voiceovers?
I do a Claire voice.
Oh, awesome! You do an impression too?
Beth does a Diana impression. You guys should do it together.
I do a great Diana. Julie does a great Mary Hawkins. We can just go on the road.
I think you three of you should have a conversation.
Let's run through right now. Start with the Diana voice, please.
Diana. Ask them a question, Diana.
Well, I would like to see if whether or not you would be able to do Mary and Claire together in this scene that you're going to do, and just do it right now. I want to hear it.
Where does the penis then pull it there?
And Claire, please tell us about the penis. Or something else.
I'm not going to talk about penises. I'm just going to talk about whatever. The man didn't finish. I think you're fine.
I'm really, really scared. Can you hold me?
I do a really good Bernie Sanders. Could he come in here?
Do it.
No, I'm not doing Bernie Sanders.
I can't believe I just did Diana again. That was not okay.
That was-
I can't believe I said penis is Mary Hawkins. Once again.
Once again.
Every week.
Not the first time. All right, that makes sense now. This is not your ex-girlfriend calling you out on the internet in front of your wife. If it was, she would be getting bitch slapped internet style.
Right. I would emoji that.
Right. Thank you guys. That was entertaining.
Anytime you want to see Diana's witchy fingers, I'll throw them out. I don't have long nails, though. Tiny little baby nails.
Okay.
I'm trying to find this
Do
tweet
the
that
Claire
I
voice if you'd like.
Sorry. That's good. That's good. So here's what some people have said, and I have a question. I'm going to kind of veer away from my Mary voice right now. And I was thinking about this the other day because I was like, I actually liked the episode, but I had some people, and Tiff, one of our writers, who does our wonderful Snapchat and is amazing. If you have not been following us on Snapchat, you're missing out, and I don't know who you are, and I don't think we can be friends if you don't follow us on Snapchat. But
Seriously, it's so funny. Like,
seriously,
we're not just saying that.
Right. Tiff actually said that she wasn't crazy about this, the narration and everything. So I was just wondering about this when I was driving home from work, because this is what I think about on the daily. I was wondering, do we think this is a good... I will be honest, the last few episodes, I just haven't felt the episodes. So I will say this. Do we feel like this is a really good episode because of what we've been exposed to in the last few weeks, or was it... And I guess I'm saying that, Tiff, you're inspiring me by this question, but, or was it legitimately, do we legitimately think this was a good episode? Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
like, did it feel good because Blackjack was back and because some drama, things moved forward and there wasn't a weird WWE fight at the end? Like, is that why it felt like a good episode? Or was it really, really well written, just a one great hour of television? Is that what
that's what I think. That's what I think. What I'm asking is, do we think it's good because of what the past few episodes we've compared it to, or was it legitimately a really, really good episode?
Well, and here's a comment from our dear friend Karen, who is a longtime Outlander book reader. She's really old. She's been reading them forever. I said that. I felt like that's what I was saying. She's read them a lot longer than we had, and then has always been much more positive about the episodes than we have. We always recap them via text message, and she has been she's enjoyed the last few a lot more than I think probably as a whole Beth, Julie, and I have. And this morning she was texting me. She just watched it and said she hated the episode, which is so funny because I didn't hate the episode. Like, I feel like we're opposite about our likes. And she said, let's see. She thought
she hated Myrta.
She hated Myrta. She said the reveal of Blackjack at Versailles was lame. And that's kind of what I envision, like, why my one sentence summary is this, like, moment when he walks in and the lights open up and there's this spotlight on him, even though it's daytime. That's what it felt like. And in the books, she reminded us. And she said she isn't one of those people who wants it to stick quite to the books. But she didn't like that. She thought Claire telling Alex to break it off was really stupid. She just thought it was really boring, but gorgeous to watch. That's what she said. So it was interesting because I don't know that I think this was better than last week's episode for sure.
Yeah.
I think what happens is when it starts out, this one started out kind of boringly, like they're cleaning up the fight from last week or whatever. But when it ends well, when an episode ends well, and when it has any kind of like decent amount of Tobias in it, people think it's great. And I'm not kidding. Like, get a good amount of Tobias in it and end it with a good scene. Because last week the end was that horrible fight, and I think everybody would say that last week's episode was the worst episode of the season, and it probably wasn't the worst episode. It just ended as dumb as possible, in my opinion. So everybody's like, that episode was terrible. this episode ended really well. Sam was totally great. It was very emotional. You're invested again back into what's going on with them, and it ended really well and really solidly. And I think it makes the episode shine a little bit more than ones that don't. And it had Tobias. Those are 2 things you need. What do y'all think?
I agree. I agree with you. I think very much. So it did have Tobias, and it's so funny that we say like last week, because last week was the big episode where they came back together, and that for me should have been the episode we all went, God, that was a great episode. They came back together. It was so wonderful. And then they had the fight scene, and then that fight scene, and if you were watching along live, they showed it like obviously 3 minutes before starting the new episode, and you just went, oh God. Like just so much bad. But I agree that, anytime Tobias comes on the screen, I think there's just, he elevates, not to kiss ass, Tobias Menzies, but I will. He elevates it more than the past, so.
We actually have a lot of tweets saying that they really liked this episode. They thought it was great compared to the first 4. 18th Century Lass said that she felt this episode was more Outlander than she's seen since The Devil's Mark. Right. She loved Jamie and Claire scenes and the BJR reveal. BJR. So I mean, I think that it was well paced. I agree, Anna. It was well paced. So I mean, there are reasons to say that this was a good episode. It wasn't a bad one for sure.
Well, I think the thing that you found with this particular episode, well, let's start off with the first. At least I'd say the first 2 episodes, it was so plot heavy. It had to introduce new characters. It had to the second and third episode. The first episode was fantastic. The second and third episodes were so plot heavy, introduced new characters, introduced a new setting. It had to get you back involved in France and get you to understand the machinations of what is happening between Jamie and Claire and the wine business and everything. And there was no room to breathe with the characters. And if there's no room to breathe with the characters, then there's no drama. And if there's no drama, no one cares, and if no one cares, then you don't have a show. And where this episode succeeded is that it took everything that it introduced you into, either if it was the Comte Saint-Germain, or if it was even bringing back Blackjack Randall, it gave you stakes. Time travel always works in television and movies as long as the people that are involved in the time travel. In this case, it's Claire. As long as there are personal stakes involved with time travel, I always say this on the podcast. Back to the Future is the ultimate time travel film. The logic is crazy, and watching Marty McFly's hand disappear is stupid beyond all belief. But when his hand starts to disappear, you actually care because he's also looking at his family disappear on the picture. And he's only back there to save his family. And for the first 4 episodes, you don't have any of that context with Claire. They're there to fight, to prevent a rebellion. And yeah, that's great, and that's great on paper, but in terms of drama, there is none. But now we actually have Claire there for a reason. And she has this moral ambiguity about Frank. Does she choose Frank, or does she choose Jamie? And inherently, that also means that she choose Jamie or Blackjack Randall. And that right there, that connection, and that short between the two is what creates the drama that people love so much. And then you put in a little bit of Tobias Menzies as Blackjack Randall, who is the most electric character on this show, and I'm of the opinion that he's probably the most accomplished and best actor on this show.
Amen.
When you start sprinkling that in, then people are just gonna fall in love with it. Mainly because people actually have, whether it's good or bad, they actually have this connection with everyone smiling at me and laughing. So I'm just going.
We get really excited about Tobias.
Yeah,
like
good. I do too. I have a wicked man crush on him. Sorry.
We get really happy about it. It's just the thing we do. He makes us smile. It's the laugh lines. We want to get them too. I love him.
So when you sprinkle in that, and then you have that visceral reaction, whether it's hate or love or just frustration with Blackjack Randall, you are invested in the stakes of what happens. And the last thing I want to say about this is there was an actual arc to what happened to both Jamie and Claire. At the beginning of the episode, you start off with You start off with them holding each other's arms. They're having a good laugh about La Dame Blanche, and then the episode happens, and it ends with this big wide shot of both of them on opposite ends of the room. Jamie saying, "Don't touch me." And when you go from one to the next like that, you actually have a story to be told, unlike episodes 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
There's a good tweet here, hold on, from not Blake's girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, sorry, saying, Laura Robertson again, saying, this episode felt more like Outlander than any in season 2. The kilt, the horses, there was a Jenny mention, Blackjack Randall, there were Jamie and Claire moments, Angry Jamie, etc. So I thought that was pretty good.
Because the core of the show is ultimately Jamie and Claire.
Right.
And how do they interact with each other? And since you were getting so full of plot points, and Jamie having to figure out the wine business, and Claire figuring out that she has to go to the hospital, they weren't interacting at all. And the interaction that you got was plain at best. But now we finally have something to chew on to actually accept.
Are y'all ready to get back to Scotland? Like, how many more episodes do you think we're going to get before anything? Are we going to get back to Dougal and Colum, or do you miss them?
Oh, me?
I do. Yeah, anybody.
Oh.
I miss them.
I just talked forever, so you guys talk.
Hell yeah, I miss them, and I hope soon. I mean, feels like they're not done. There's got to be, right?
See, I don't get to talk Scotland because I have my darling spoiler-free husband over here. I mean, he knows that we're going back to Scotland.
Right, Ron said that in interviews, right?
Yeah.
Well, also in the trailer, too, so.
Sure.
Oh, does it?
Well, they show you, like, a lot of battle-y stuff. And you know Culloden happens. I mean, at the beginning, the very first thing in the episode is that Culloden actually happens. So, I mean, you know that at some point
they'll change the future. Spoiler alert.
They go back. So, it's, you know, we know that from season 1. They go to freaking Culloden Moor. I've been there.
Oh, we have a good picture of Beth there.
Oh, yes.
We could tweet it out. We'll tweet it out later. Just follow us on That's Normal. We'll tweet it.
We won't tweet it out.
I would like to stay in France for one more episode and leave, but I know we can't. I'm kind of like, I love France. I love the beauty of it, but I'm just so sick of all of the people they're hanging out with. They're not good friends. I mean, I'm just selfish. Like, whether or not it was in the books, I'm just sick of these people, and I want to get back to Lollybrock. I want to get back to Jenny. I miss Scotland, and I miss the genuine relationships there. You know, you feel dirty when you hang out with the Bonnie Prince, and you feel dirty around the Comte. And, you know, we're spending so much time with them, and we're supposed to not like them, of course, but as a viewer, I'm just sitting here going, gosh, Jamie and Claire don't have any good friends here. They just...
Alicia Wrigley, who's Alicia Meredith 1 on Twitter, just tweeted, literally as you were starting to say that, I miss season 1 characters. So I think you're not alone.
The problem that you're also having too is, you know, you fell in love with Jamie and Claire, and again, the core of the show being those two, and how they interacted with everybody in Scotland, and they were them in that setting. But when they go to France, they're not them. They have to play a role. They have to play the role. Either Jamie is the person who's running the winery, or Claire is the person who is the high-end lady. And that's not Claire. So you can't love the characters, and you can't love the drama that's involved with the characters if they aren't who they really are. And if they're not really who they are in France, then France doesn't work.
I just want to see some, like, dirty fighting, like shoving a dude's head through a table and nut-checking during a game of, what's that game they play that looks like hockey? That's it. I just want to see that. I want to go back to that. I'm done with this clean. I'm done with the clean outfits and the wine every freaking 5 seconds. I mean, honest to God, Claire drinks.
Yeah, that baby's gonna have some problems, some developmental delays.
Baby's gonna.
There's some ADP in that baby's future.
God.
Somebody said after episode 7, based on somebody who is smarter than us thinks we're going back to Scotland based on the titles. After episode 7, I must be called, like, Back to Scotland or something.
Yeah, I think we have 1.5, maybe 2 full episodes left in France, and that's it.
However, I will say my favorite thing thus far in France was the King and his whole little BJR thing. That is as French as you can get. You are dressed well. You are snotty. You were doing a ho 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 with your hands. Like I don't even know what he was doing with his
Like
hands
he's
this whole
like
time.
telling Claire, "Go ahead, go ahead." Yes. It's very Diana. Maybe he just got that from Diana and was like, "How does she do her fingers? I'll do it like that." I loved him too. I loved him having Blackjack kind of kneel. Obviously, Jamie did too. Jamie was into that. I love that guy that's playing him. He's adorable somehow. Like, not the first scene on the toilet, but like other than that, like he's super adorable. And I think the King Louis scenes are really. Who I also love is Louise. I love her character. Like we could have had more of Louise, and I would have been happy. I really, really liked her a lot. I missed her this episode. We could have had Claire hang out with Louise at the royal stables and had no Anelise, and life would have been just as good. I'd have been very happy with that.
I agree. I would think that Louise would have been with Claire with the prince, at the checking out the horses, which, I mean, I thought that was a great scene in regards to Sandringham. I thought that was great with him, but I thought it would have been nice to have Louise with Claire, and then comes in with Annalise, and Louise would have been like, "Shut up, I hate you," and then walked away or something like that. I can't do a French accent. I'm sorry. I can do Mary. I can't do a French accent. Sorry.
I have a question. Okay. How pregnant is Claire?
6 months? 7? 6?
I think she's closer to 7 now. I think it's so different than the books, because if Jamie and Claire didn't have sex post sexual assault, then they had to have gotten pregnant before Wentworth. I mean, before he was in prison. I mean, so she's like been pregnant for quite some time. So definitely towards the 6-7 mark.
She looks 6 to 7 months pregnant.
Yeah, this one, you could start to see it in her dresses, and you couldn't really see it before.
Yeah. It doesn't start getting up in your rib cage until like 7 months. From what I recall, it's been a while.
Yes, me too. I know. It was tough at that 6-7 month part.
It is. It is. But no, I think she's about 6 months pregnant. I am not, I'm interested to see the next couple of episodes and how that works out. But I'm just so irritated with Claire right now. I don't want to care.
Am I muted? No, I'm not. Okay, I keep muting myself. Sorry. Laura, again, who's cracking me up tonight. Good job with the tweets, Laura. She said, even my mom, who smoked through her entire 1973 pregnancy with me, judged Claire's drinking. I gave her side eye.
Thanks, Mom.
That was a good one.
Oh my gosh.
She drank this much in the books during this pregnancy. I remember reading and just thinking, oh my gosh, why are they always talking about the whiskey or the wine? Like, what is going on?
Did they not know in the 40s that was bad for, I mean, obviously, like, there's still, even today, you could drink more than probably in the 80s they recommended, but...
We had some discussion on this with some of our listeners, because I've been very vocal about, like, why is she always drinking? And they said that the research about drinking during pregnancy came out, what was it, Blake, like the 70s? It wasn't until the 70s or 80s.
Oh, wow.
So Claire wouldn't have even known.
I guess that makes sense, because a lot of my friends' parents smoked when they were pregnant in the 70s and stuff. It probably wasn't until the 80s that they really stopped or got side-eye when they were doing it.
My mother smoked 2 packs a day with me when she was pregnant, so look how I turned out.
So insane.
My mother's never drunk a day in her life, and I'm perfect. And drunk.
You're making up for her. All right, so we are almost out of time here. What have we not discussed? The fight at the end. What?
Anything we have to talk about?
I mean, did we really go through the ending? I mean, it was hard. I mean, it was real. It was terrible. They both were right. They were both right. She was right to ask him, even though...
But Jamie's heart is more precious to me. And so I care more that he's hurting than I do about Frank and whether or not he exists. And I think Claire's being dumb.
No, I think that was stupid when she said, "You owe me a life." I'm like, you realize this man was raped in order to save you. Like, there could have been another solution to that situation, but no, he decided to stay I wouldn't be playing that card right now, Claire. Bad hand.
And like she says, I've saved your life twice. How many times has he saved her life? 4 or 5?
Because she's made stupid decisions and just run off and grabbed a horse and got
I mean, there's
exactly.
Crane's mirror. There's the witch trial. We could just like name like the 6 or 7 times he saved her life and see like how do those scales balance. And he's like, I'm a man of honor. Okay, remember your debt. Like,
the reason why Claire has a left nipple is because of Jamie. Blackjack was going to take that sucker right off.
That's right.
I think Claire should have led with, I'm pregnant and we're having a baby and you shouldn't leave because we're about to bring a baby into this world and it's going to really suck because if you're not here, I don't even know how to work in this time frame.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, Claire's reaction is a tad selfish, in my opinion. Actually, it's probably a little bit more than a tad. It's probably very selfish. But her argument is relatively sound. And as much as I don't agree with her moral choices, her argument is sound in that yes, she is married. She does have the baby in her belly. But more importantly, if Frank is not alive, does that then mean that she does not go to Craignadoon? And does that also mean that she does not travel back to Scotland? And as such, she wouldn't be there to begin with.
Yeah.
So is it necessary for her and Jamie to save Frank's life? So the argument, while selfish, it does hold water.
I don't think she knows enough about her own time travel or what it means or how it affects anything to even make that decision. It seems so far-fetched. It seems like a huge leap for her to make at that point. Like, she doesn't understand how any of it works, so how can she assume that Blackjack needs to live for any length of time, especially because she thought he was dead.
Yeah, but if
she's been
regardless, regardless of whether or not she thinks he is dead is largely irrelevant because he's still alive. So whether or not she thinks it doesn't matter, because whatever she thinks, she could think that the sky's red. It doesn't matter. It's blue. And that's how it works with Blackjack. He's alive, thereby he has an opportunity to procreate and further Frank's lineage.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a time in any of the other episodes where Claire has either actively tried to kill Jack or been okay with somebody killing Jack?
I feel like she's been fine with the fact that he was dead up until she found out with Alex Randall in France. Like, I feel like all this time has passed and she was on the boat and everything and she seemed to be fine with it up until then. It's like it finally, the light bulb went off in her head and you're like, Claire, where's your brain been? Of course he's been, had he been dead, why were you not worried then?
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. She didn't talk about it then.
No.
And I'm sure in like The Reckoning, is it The Reckoning when he's in the window and he's, going to kill him? I'm sure she's just like, shoot this bastard. I mean, like, why? She doesn't seem to care in these moments.
She does. She even tells him. She even tells him to shoot him, and she doesn't care. She hopes that a bunch of cattle run his ass over and squish him to death. And now it's like, oh, you're alive, thank God. And it's like, oh, Claire.
She's like, let's just plan his death down to the day. And she knows the day of his death. I'm so irritated at this point.
Jamie's rule says, thank you, Beth. She owes Jamie like 10 lives. And then Rachel responded, there was a bad math in the writer's room that day.
Yeah. Not good. Not good.
All right, so since we're heading on our ending is a thing that I'm saying right now. We're almost out of time. I want to just report on the real quick poll we took asking about this episode. 83% of you said it was a great episode. 3% hated it, which is probably just one person, and 14% said meh about the episode. So that's a pretty wide majority.
Yeah, that's a lot of people liking it.
Yeah.
It was no Penny Dreadful episode 2. Throw that out. Because that episode was killer. It's still good. Still good.
Yeah. So next week we are...
Tonight?
What?
Do we have a winner tonight?
We do have a winner. Want to talk about that before we talk about next week? We are going to... Julie, since you did our social media tonight, would you announce who's going to win? Who's going to take us from my home?
I would like to announce that Laura, who we ex-girlfriend. Laura, you have won. You were amazing. And I want to quote this. You owe me a life. Jamie should have said, you owe me a left nipple. Just
For
why
that
you-
alone, I'm going to
Good
send you
luck.
this flask with my fingerprints all over it, so you can use me
You're
to get into
welcome.
my accounts. Please DM us, because I believe we just followed you, and give us your address, and we'll arrange that. Please don't tell me that you don't drink. Give this to a drinking friend. I do not want
Yes.
this anymore. If you don't, we'll give you another prize.
Yay! Next week is episode 206. I don't know what it's called.
I do. I should. I don't remember.
Did-
I don't remember. There's a.
Did somebody say it's Faith? No, it's
No,
not.
that's
that's
episode
episode
7.
7.
I'll tell you, because I have the hangout set up already.
It doesn't matter. We'll be here at the same time, 10 o'clock next Monday night with Laura and Kyle from Hypable will be with us.
Oh, yay.
So, yay!
This is the, I know what it's called. It's called Best Laid Schemes, and I wrote in the description of our hangout, they better be referring to sex when they say laid in this episode, or else. I actually wrote, they better be refer to sex, because I did this last night when I was tired. I will edit that. Nah, I'm going to keep that. They better be refer to sex, guys. So I sound real smart. We'll tweet out the link so you can RSVP for next week, but thank you so much to Blake and Mary for joining us. It was so great to talk to you guys and meet you and see your lovely faces, both of you.
Likewise. Thank you.
Yeah, and we will see you guys next week, and of course on That's Normal all week long, as well as all the social channels where we talk about many things, not just Outlander. Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Bye. Good night.
Good night.